Executive Director at the American Academy of Dermatology.
What is the biggest challenge facing brands today, and what is the biggest opportunity?
I think those are very much related issues. I see the biggest challenge as staying true to your brand. I think, and when I think about the opportunity, it's the amount of information that you can gather about your constituencies and what they expect of you, and the temptation to modify your brand based on each new thing that you learn, as opposed to trusting the decisions that you've made about how to position your brand and your organization, and determining what your core brand needs to be and who your core constituents are, and not allowing yourself to get pulled in a million different directions. The value of your brand, I think, is in that reliability and consistency, and staying true to that. So I think it's tempering the opportunity to know perhaps more than you've ever been able to know before about your markets and about your constituents, and learn what to listen to and what not to listen to, and how to stay true.
What is your take on the concept content is capital?
I think for an association, that has always been the way we've thought about our primary source of capital. Certainly what our members look to us for is the intellectual knowledge that we can provide, the practice management in our case with physicians, and for us, I believe the challenge is in deciding how to disseminate that content in the most appropriate ways, what kind of content to provide as a benefit of membership, what kind of content to repurpose in various ways, how to deliver that content in a way that it provides the most value back to the member. As an association, I really see, especially in this day and age where, frankly, you can get most of that content almost anywhere, it is in filtering that content and creating value out of it. So not just regurgitating information that chances are they could find by looking on Wikipedia or doing a search in PubMed or a million other places. And it's also in being able to deliver that content in a form and at a time and in a way that is the most useful to them. And I think that is a continuing challenge, certainly in the medical world. How much is delivered at point of care, how much has to be available to a physician offline, how much information should you be providing to their patients directly, what's our role in serving as the content manager for that kind of data transfer. And I think the decision about how much of your content to monetize, if you will, how much do you give away and to whom, and how much do you make your capital in the literal sense of getting revenue from that source. And I think playing into that then becomes the whole question of how does that affect the perceived value as well.
How does content marketing integrate into your organization's overall communication plan?
One of the things we've been spending a lot of time on recently is looking at our overall communications plan and doing exactly that, figuring out what kind of content we should be delivering through which vehicles. One of our challenges has been that we've got so many ways now of getting information out to our constituents, and there's a tendency to either over-communicate or under-share, and we've really been looking strategically at whether we have too many ways of communicating, too many vehicles for delivering content. And the other issue is just how much content, certainly on our website. When we relaunched our website and realized how many thousands, literally thousands of pages of content there were, and what is the likelihood that anyone who needs access to that content is actually going to be able to find what they need when they need it, and really whittled it down. And that was a very, very difficult process. And we're going through exactly the same challenge in looking at all of the different communication vehicles that we use, including our marketing communications, as well as our newsletters and web content and print publications and everything else, and being willing to be a little bit more restrictive about what kinds of information go into each of those communication vehicles, and be more thoughtful about what the expectations on the part of the person accessing that information is going to be, and a willingness to edit in the largest sense of the word, in terms of keeping that content more relevant really listening to how our constituents use that content, and listening to what they want from us and being willing to make those kinds of changes.
How can brands ensure their relevance in the coming year?
I think that's a really tough question, honestly, especially in light of my earlier discussion of needing to be consistent and true to your brand. I think knowing your audience, listening to what kinds of feedback you have access to, looking at the data. I think there's a danger in listening to any one subset of your organization, whether it's internal or external. So I think making sure that you've got the mechanisms to get that kind of feedback, and being prepared to make incremental adjustments without necessarily, unless it seems truly indicated, doing a major sea change. But understanding what your core values and what your core brand represents, and assuming that you've done the right things in defining that in the first place, paying attention to what you're hearing back from your marketplace, whatever that may be, whether it's members or purchasers or staff, frankly, or policymakers, and just being very alert to the kinds of feedback you're getting. One of the things we've been grappling with is how do you take anecdotal kinds of information? How do you take what your customer support center is hearing, and incorporate that into your more traditional kinds of member feedback and needs assessments and the harder survey kinds of data, and learn how to integrate all of that together and really truly listen to what you're hearing, and again, make those incremental changes if you need to.